Jephthah, son of Gilead, was born into difficult circumstances. His mother was a prostitute, which caused his half-brothers to reject him, throwing him out of the house so that he would not have a share in the family inheritance. Jephthah was forced into exile in the land of Tob, where he became the leader of a group of valiant men. In time, the Ammonites, Israel's traditional enemies, rose up against Gilead, and the elders of the people, fearing for the safety of their land, saw in Jephthah a warrior capable of leading Israel to victory. They went to Tob and asked Jephthah to return and lead them into battle against the Ammonites. Jephthah, remembering their earlier rejection, negotiated with the elders, assuring them that if he was successful, he would become ruler over all the inhabitants of Gilead. The elders agreed, and Jephthah assumed command of the army of Israel. Feeling the weight of responsibility, he sought God's favor before the battle, but in a moment of recklessness, he made a vow to the Lord. "If you will deliver the Ammonites into my hands, then whoever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in peace shall be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice him as a burnt offering." This vow, made in a moment of desperation, laid the groundwork for the tragedy that was to follow. Jephthah went into battle with courage and confidence, certain that God was with him. He led the people of Israel to a resounding victory over the Ammonites, freeing his land from oppression. However, the celebration of his victory was about to be marred by a decision that would change his life forever. Jephthah led the army of Israel with great determination, advancing against the Ammonites with a clear strategy and faith in God. The battle was hard fought, but the hand of God was with him, and Jephthah won a crushing victory over Israel's enemies. The Ammonites were defeated, and peace was restored to the land of Gilead. Jephthah, now not only a victorious warrior, but also the leader of his people, returned home with a heart full of joy and gratitude, but without forgetting the vow he had made to the Lord before the battle. As he approached his home in Mizpah, he expected a time of celebration and rest. However, Jephthah's joy was suddenly turned to overwhelming despair when his only daughter, a young woman full of life and hope, came out of her home to greet him, dancing to the sound of tambourines. She was the first person out the door, just as Jephthah had promised God. Upon seeing her, Jephthah tore his clothes in a gesture of deep anguish and grief, exclaiming, "Alas, my daughter! You have utterly degraded me and brought misfortune upon me, for I have made a vow to the Lord, and I cannot go back on it." Jephthah's daughter, understanding the gravity of her father's vow, showed remarkable acceptance and courage. She asked only that she be granted 2 months to go to the mountains with her friends and mourn her virginity, since she would never marry or have children. Jephthah, despite his broken heart, consented to his daughter's request. She set out for the mountains where she mourned with her companions, knowing the fate that awaited her. This chapter highlights the shock and pain that resulted from Jephthah's reckless vow, bringing to light the complexity of keeping promises made to God, especially when those promises involve extreme sacrifice. The story of Jephthah and his daughter begins to unfold in all its tragic depth, challenging notions of faith, obedience, and morality. After 2 months of mourning in the mountains, Jephthah's daughter returned to fulfill the destiny imposed by her father's vow. For all the love Jephthah had for his daughter, he found himself bound by his own word, bound to fulfill the oath he had made to God. The pain in Jephthah's heart was palpable as he prepared the sacrifice, an act that would be remembered for generations. The Bible does not provide specific details about the ritual that followed, but it does state that Jephthah fulfilled his vow. Jephthah's daughter accepted her fate with extraordinary courage and resignation, a silent obedience that contrasted with her father's anguish. This act left a deep impression on Jephthah and the nation of Israel. As a result, a custom was instituted in Israel whereby, annually, the young women of Israel mourned Jephthah's daughter for 4 days, in memory of her sacrificed life and the tragedy that had engulfed her family. The story ends with the memory of an extreme sacrifice, without any celebration or redemption, only the shadow of Jephthah's vow that hangs over the entire narrative, leaving an indelible mark on the history of Israel.